with your doctor.
Some questions have answers. Visit findyournbcvoice.com to find some of yours.
Credit Karma can help you make financial progress by giving you free scores, reports, and monitoring. But Credit Karma does not give you the love that only a mother can. It's just an app. But you can use Credit Karma to help you improve your credit. But it cannot solve the eternal questions surrounding the human condition. Oh, come on, I need answers. But signing up is free. No credit card needed. Just download the Credit Karma app now. Oh, there's my answer. Credit Karma. Here's the progress.
Twins News Time, 2:59.
WINS, WINS-HD, WNAWHD3 New York.
A radio.com station.
1010 Winds AccuWeather says sun mixing with some clouds. A nice mild afternoon, the high 55 degrees, a dry evening, cloudy overnight with the low down to 42. And then for tomorrow, cloudy and cooler again with some rain at times from late morning through the afternoon in the city with a high of 46 degrees. Thursday, though, back to nice weather, milder too with a mix of sun and clouds. Thursday's high 55. And Friday, some rain early, then breezy and mild in the afternoon. More people get their news from 1010 Winds and from any other radio station in the nation. Tony Mercado is our service aide. Justin Schrager, our writer. Kyle McMorrow at the editor's desk. And I'm Bridget Quinn.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Winds. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon. It's 53 degrees at 3 o'clock. I'm Larry Cantor, and here's what's happening.
I'm not giving up. I am not giving up.
But Governor Cuomo says he's exhausted all the state's weapons to fight coronavirus, and the federal government needs to step up. The Trump administration is sending another 4,000 ventilators to New York. That's on top of the 400 the city has received. President Trump says he wants the country opened up again by Easter. The Olympics will not take place in Tokyo this summer. The IOC says they will be rescheduled. 1010 Winds, AccuWeather, mostly sunny this afternoon, a high 55, increasing clouds overnight, and then tomorrow, rain.
This is Andrew O'Day. Bloomberg stocks popped higher at the open, and they're still going up. Fueled by optimism, Congress is about to get the stimulus deal done. The Dow up 1,730.
Winds News Time, 3:01. From the 1010 Winds Traffic Center, here's Greg Rice.
Well, here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. We go to the Southern State Parkway, and we've got a breakdown getting over to Peninsula Boulevard. Westbound side, the right lane is shut down. It's not awful. Sunrise Highway, the LI, the Northern State, they're all just better. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Inbound side of the George could go so far, no bad way out. Everything else across the Hudson and across the East River, fine. Same with the Upper East River bridges, everything to and from Staten Island and the Mario Cuomo Bridge. Now, some transit changes going forward. Subways, they are not running what they call duplicate service. That means no B, no W, no Z subways. Instead of the B, think about the C, D, and Q. Instead of the W, they urge you to the N and the R. And instead of the Z trains, they want you on the J trains instead. LIRR and Metro North, they maintain their usual service. New Jersey Transit on an enhanced holiday schedule. Traffic sponsored by NJ Diet. Staying indoors doesn't mean you have to pack on the pounds. New Jersey's live online video consultations help you lose 20 to 40 pounds in only 40 days. Contractually guaranteed. Call 855-5NJ-DIET or go to njdiet.com. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 Winds.
President Trump continues to lay the groundwork for loosening coronavirus restrictions in the near future. In a Fox town hall this afternoon, Mr. Trump said he wants the country open by Easter, despite warnings from the public health experts.
You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. You're going to lose people. You're going to have suicides by the thousands. You're going to have all sorts of things happen. You're going to have instability. You can't just come in and say, let's close up the United States of America.
At the same time, an official from the World Health Organization says we're now seeing a very large acceleration in coronavirus cases in the United States, and the U.S. could become the new epicenter for the disease. There has been some concern among members of the news media about competing messages from the president and from medical experts, including Dr. Anthony Fauci. On WMAL radio in Washington today, Dr. Fauci was asked about it.
That is really unfortunate. I would wish that would stop, because we have a much bigger problem here than trying to point out differences. They're really fundamentally at the core. When you look at things, there are not differences. The president has listened to what I have said and what the other people on the task force have said. When I've made recommendations, he's taken them. He's never countered or overridden me. The idea of just pitting one against the other is just not helpful. I wish that would stop, and we'd look ahead at the challenge we have to pull together to get over this thing.
Top official in Texas has echoed the president's message for the U.S. to think about ways to get back to work, fearing the long-standing impact the virus will have on the economy.
Republican Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick telling Tucker Carlson on Fox News that the elderly population, which he falls under, who are at high risk for the illness, will take care of themselves, but that preserving the economy for their grandchildren should be top priority.
I want to, live smart and see through this, but I don't want the whole country to be sacrificed.
With businesses severely limited or hurting because of social distancing restrictions, President Trump now proposing reopening the country, saying the cure can't be worse than the problem. Clayton Neville, Dallas.
Checking AccuWeather. Dry this evening, increasing clouds overnight, a low 42. Then tomorrow, cloudy and cooler with rain at times from late morning through the afternoon. Tomorrow's high just 46. It's 53 degrees, mostly sunny, humidity 46%, winds variable at 7 miles an hour. An update now, current temperature 52. We're heading down to 36. Winds news time 3:05. The Trump administration is sending 4,000 more ventilators to New York State. Vice President Pence says 2,000 are on the way and 2,000 more will be sent tomorrow. That word came minutes after Governor Cuomo pleaded with the president to do more because things are only getting worse in New York.
Governor Cuomo sounding the alarm, saying projected cases are mounting faster and higher than expected. The rate of new infection doubling every 3 days.
That is a dramatic increase in the rate of infection.
And he expects a need for 140,000 beds in the next 14 to 21 days. He sat in front of dozens of boxes of surgical masks and gowns slated for the MASH unit that will be here at the Javits Center. The governor says the feds have to act. You can revive the economy and help the most vulnerable at the same time.
Well, we'll just sacrifice old people. They're old people anyway, and the old get left behind. What is this, some modern Darwinian theory?
Julia Papa, 1010 Wins at the Javits Center.
Last night, the Trump administration shipped in 400 ventilators from the national stockpile to New York City. At the OEM headquarters, the warehouse this morning in Brooklyn, the mayor said these ventilators will be a bridge.
We really needed it for our public hospitals because the supply of ventilators was getting dangerously low in the last few days. So having this shipment right now is going to be life-saving this week in public hospitals.
He figures the city will ultimately need a total of 15,000 ventilators. Here are the latest numbers. New York State now has more than 25,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus and 210 deaths. In New Jersey, it's more than 3,600 cases and 44 deaths. 17 of them occurred since yesterday, and that's the highest one-day total yet for New Jersey. On Capitol Hill, there appears to be some progress on the economic stimulus package, which the Senate has already voted down twice along party lines. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin both say they are close to reaching a deal.
Regarding negotiations with Capitol Hill for a possible $2 trillion stimulus, the president tweets, Congress must approve the deal without all of the nonsense today. The longer it takes, the harder it will be to start up our economy. Our workers will be hurt. And responding to governors who wonder why he's not ordering American firms to make medical gear in short supply, the president writes, the Defense Production Act is in full force but haven't had to use it because no one has said no. Millions of masks coming as backup to states. Bob Costantini, the White House.
House Democrats are proposing providing cash payments of $1,500 per person with a maximum of $7,500 per household. Anyone who earns more than $75,000 would have to repay that through your next tax return. Not the next one, but through your tax returns, but the payback would be spread out over 3 years. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker will join us live at 4:30 to discuss the stimulus talk, so lock it in to 1010 Wins. It is now official. The Tokyo Olympics have been postponed.
The statement said that given the current circumstances and information provided by the World Health Organization, the IOC and Japan have concluded that the Games need to be rescheduled to a date no later than the summer of 2021 in order to safeguard the health of athletes and everybody involved in the Olympic Games. The statement said that the leaders agreed the Olympic Games in Tokyo could stand as a beacon of hope for the world, and therefore the Olympic flame would stay lit in Japan. It was also agreed that the Games would keep the name Olympic and Paralympic Games Tokyo 2020. Steve Kastenbaum for 1010 Wins.
Wins News Time 3:09.
We're Saya LTL Freight. Our trucks hit the road to haul the goods that keep businesses and communities moving. We're talking millions of shipments over millions of miles. From custom solutions to expedited delivery, when you see Saya LTL Freight, you'll know we're driving business. For all your shipping needs, get your quote at Saya.com. That's SAIA.com.
It's happening. Wherever cupcakes are being frosted, songs are being recorded, and engines are being tuned, ADP is designing a better way to work. With industry-leading HR, talent, time, benefits, and payroll, more companies rely on ADP than any other HR partner, from small business to global enterprise. See how ADP can help you and your people achieve what you're working for at design.adp.com. ADP, always designing for people.
Wins News Time 3:10. Now this message, have you been injured? Visit HarrisLawNYC.com. The consultation is free. Compensation could be millions. Traffic and AccuWeather in a minute.
I'm PBA President Passage. Right now, police officers, healthcare workers, and so many other essential employees are heading to work. We can't stay home. Our mission comes first. We have to protect you on the front lines of a global health crisis. And we're not just battling the virus. We're still fighting crime, responding to emergencies, and keeping our city running. Yes, these are the jobs we signed up for, but we aren't the only ones who sacrifice. Our families are sacrificing along with us, and they bear the greatest burden. They support us through long hours and uncertain schedules. They share our stress and our fatigue. And if we're exposed to the virus at work, they could be exposed too. So when you think about the cops and other frontline workers who are still on the job and at risk, remember, we aren't alone. Our families are on the front lines too, and they deserve all of our respect.
Paid for by the Police Benevolent Association of the City of New York, Inc.
Wins News Time 3:11. From the Mavis Discount Tire Traffic Center, here's Greg Rice.
Well, Larry, some transit changes going forward. Starting today, the MTA is not running what they call duplicate service, which means the B, W, and Z trains stay in the yard. Instead of the B, the C, D, and Q should do the job. The W trains, you want the N or R instead, and hop on the J instead of the Z train. The commuter rail lines the MTA offers, they still offer regular weekday service, and they're on or close as they go. New Jersey Transit, they have already transitioned over to an extended or enhanced holiday schedule, and those are all running on or close so far. Now, the subways that do run, we have issues. 5, 6, 7, 2, A, and C trains, they all have some sort of drawback as we get going this afternoon. Traffic sponsored by your local miles dealers. The 3-row miles to CX-9 all-wheel drive is equipped with optional second-row captain's chairs with center walkthrough and an advanced suite of safety technologies, including automatic emergency braking system. The Mazda CX-9 offers Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration. Visit MazdaUSA.com for details. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 Wins.
Now the AccuWeather 4-day forecast, sponsored by Mount Sinai Health System. Here's meteorologist Brian Thompson with a live report.
Well, Larry, we continue to see a good deal of sunshine this afternoon. The temperatures are up to the low 50s, not too much wind. We'll drop down to 42 tonight. It will start out mostly clear this evening, and then clouds will increase overnight. Cloudy, cooler tomorrow. On some rain at times from the late morning into the afternoon hours, a high of 46. This will be a fast-moving system, so by tomorrow night we start to clear things out again, a low of 39. Turning milder Thursday with sun and clouds, high 55. We do expect a little rain to start on Friday, then staying mostly cloudy in the afternoon. It gets pretty mild, though. Friday's high up near 60, and then perhaps some more rain heading into Saturday. Mostly sunny and 52 right now, but down going down to 42 tonight. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station, 1010 Winds.
Winds News Time, 3:13.
How do I keep my family and myself healthy? What are the symptoms? With so many questions about COVID-19, it's hard to know where to turn for answers you can trust. At Mount Sinai Health System, we are ready to help. If you're feeling sick, visit mountsinai.org to access all of our virtual care options, and we'll get you the right care for your needs. All of us at Mount Sinai, across the New York region and Long Island, are here for you.
New Yorkers, stay home. By staying home, you are doing your part to slow the spread of coronavirus. Together, we can protect the most vulnerable and our healthcare workers. When you go out for essential needs, don't forget to keep your distance between yourself and others. Wash your hands well and often. Cover your nose and mouth when you sneeze or cough. For the latest information, text COVID to 692-692 or visit nyc.gov/coronavirus.
You see them all around town. Cintas trucks and their service reps taking care of customers. When companies use Cintas, you know they're confident and ready. Cintas helps with their fire protection and first aid and safety programs, handles their apparel solutions, and helps keep their facility and restrooms clean and stocked. So you know those companies care about their employees, facilities, and image. When all those things work together, they're ready for business. Oh, I'm ready! Get Cintas and get ready for the workday.
Can you go to the mechanic in here? Pass me the torque wrench. Nope, let me have the flamethrower. That sounds wrong. You know what else sounds wrong? When you hear about the interest you're earning on your savings with the largest banks. But with the Marcus by Goldman Sachs online savings account, you could earn much more interest. And hear this. Open a Marcus by Goldman Sachs online savings account in minutes at Marcus.com. You can money.
Comparison made to the three largest U.S. banks measured by total deposits. Rates as of February 4th, 2020 and may vary by state. Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC.
Winds News Time, 3:16. The Prime Minister of India is taking strict action to halt the spread of coronavirus. He's decreed a 3-week lockdown for the entire country. That covers 1.3 billion people. Another high-profile Long Islander has tested positive for COVID-19. That's Suffolk County District Attorney Tim Sinney. The spokeswoman says Sinney is not hospitalized, but he is quarantined at home and he's still working. New York Presbyterian, a network of 10 hospitals in the city, says it's made a difficult decision to ban partners from delivery rooms in response to the coronavirus outbreak. It says the move is important to promote patient safety. Healthcare advocates immediately expressed concern about the policy's toll on pregnant women, putting them under increased stress, and mothers might be more likely to have C-sections, they say. The hospital network delivers some 15,000 babies a year. The Mount Sinai Health System is also expected to.
The East River, also in pretty decent shape. Upper East River bridges are in pretty good shape, as is everything. To and from Staten Island, the Mario Cuomo Bridge, that is also a pretty decent ride. We've got some transit changes, mainly the B, W, and Z trains. They don't run. The MTA considers that duplicate service, and we'll put those in the yard for the day. Traffic is sponsored by MajorWorld.com. Buying a car with your tax refund, stop. Don't get ripped off by wasting your refund, paying huge dealer fees. At Major World, you'll only pay $75 in dealer fees. Major World, just straight up honest pricing. Visit MajorWorld.com or call 1-800-MAJOR-AUTO. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 Winds.
All Americans want to get back to normal, but no one more than President Trump. He says he wants to loosen restrictions soon and have the country opened up and raring to go by Easter. Earlier in the day, Governor Cuomo complained loud and long about the lacking response from the federal government. He pleaded for more ventilators from the national stockpile.
If you think about Governor Cuomo, we're building him 4 hospitals. We're building him 4 medical centers. We're working very, very hard for the people of New York. We're working along with him, and then I watch him on the show complaining, and he had 16,000 ventilators that he could have had at a great price, and he didn't buy them.
The president was speaking at a Fox News town hall on coronavirus this afternoon, and it's unclear where his information about buying ventilators came from. But the governor says he's doing everything he can to flatten the curve, and releasing more ventilators would certainly help.
There's no other way for us to get these ventilators. We've tried everything else. The only way we can obtain these ventilators is from the federal government, period.
After the governor spoke, Vice President Pence announced that 4,000 more ventilators are on the way and will arrive here in New York in the next 2 days. The governor figures that New York will need 30,000 ventilators in the next couple of weeks. Cuomo also had some thoughts for the president as he moves toward an emphasis on getting the economy moving again. Cuomo says that can be done, but be smart about it.
Restart the economy with our younger, recovered, tested workers. Don't make us choose between a smart health strategy and a smart economic strategy. We can do both, and we must do both. It's not the economy or public health. It's restarting the economy and protecting public health. It is both.
400 ventilators from the national stockpile are in New York City now.
In the war against coronavirus, this Bushwick warehouse holds the most important weapon.
Number one physical concern right now in terms of saving lives is getting more ventilators.
And the mayor thanking the president for these 400 ventilators, but he stresses the city needs tens of thousands more.
It's not necessarily going to buy us weeks or months. It's going to buy us days given the growth of this crisis.
Dr. Samir Thani at Kings County Hospital says for coronavirus patients in intensive care, a ventilator is crucial. And the mayor's also pushing Washington to make direct payments to the hospitals, saying many are in danger of going broke. Al Jones, 1010 Wins News.
The White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx, says 1 in every 1,000 people in New York area are being infected with the virus. That's 5 times the rate of the rest of the country. But of course, New York is testing much more than other places, and the population density is much greater here than in most parts of the U.S. Signs of hope on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are negotiating a massive economic rescue package.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the Senate is very close.
At last, I believe we're on the 5-yard line.
The deal would come after 2 consecutive days of debate, disagreement, and distress. But Senator McConnell says he hopes today will be different.
The Senate has a chance to get back on track. Today we can make all of the Washington drama fade away.
The bill includes direct cash payments to taxpayers, loans to large corporations, and help for first responders, hospitals, and small businesses. Linda Kenyon, Washington.
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker will join us here on 1010 Wins live just about an hour from now to discuss those talks. Wins News Time, 3:26. Now Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins. Here's Andrew O'Day.
Things from Washington largely dictate market direction. Unlike yesterday, this time it's very much for the better. Dow gaining 1,798, almost 10%. NASDAQ up 485. S&P 500 up 182. These big bets coming as the Senate looks close to that unprecedented spending bill to prop up the suffering economy. And how much is the economy suffering? A fresh index of U.S. purchasing managers today shows the biggest one-month drop in activity in its history, going back to 2009. IHS Markets measure of both manufacturing and services tumbled to 40.5. Any reading below 50 signals contraction. Its chief economist says it underscores that the U.S. is likely already in a recession that will inevitably deepen further. Bloomberg Money Watch at 26 and 56 past every hour. I'm Andrew O'Day. 1010 Wins.
Wins News Time, 3:27.
To all first responders and essential personnel.
I would like to send a shout out to all the people at Memorial Sloan Kettering, especially to Lisa, who is my dear friend.
I just think it's amazing that people who have jobs like that care for other people so much.
We'll get through this together. Thank you. And 1010 Wins. When it comes to caring for mom and dad, only the best in healthcare solutions will do, right? Many have recently visited the Hebrew home at Riverdale on River Spring Health campus and have seen the
impressive programs they have in place for older adults in need of skilled nursing and memory care. For more than 100 years, the Hebrew Home has been devoted to helping older adults live forward, sending the message that aging is a relevant and meaningful journey. River Spring Health's expert care counselors take the time to fully understand your healthcare goals and help you set your loved ones on the path to living a full and active life. You have to see it for yourself. Schedule a tour by calling 929-243-5463. That's 929-243-5463. Again, 929-243-5463. Or visit riverspringhealth.org to find out how your loved ones can continue living forward.
Spills and messes quicker, and is 2 times more absorbent than the leading ordinary brand, so you can get back to getting caught in the rain. Bounty, the quicker picker-up.
For the ones who forge metal, and those with nerves of steel, for the ones who burn the midnight oil, and the ones who rise with the sun. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, with over 250 local branches and a team of specialists available 24/7 to help you solve any challenge. Call Grainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do your next home improvement project right by shopping Lowe's for deals throughout the store. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
AccuWeather says a dry evening ahead and clouds increasing overnight, a low 42. Tomorrow, cloudy and cooler. Rain at times from late morning through the afternoon, a high 46. Thursday becomes nice again, mix of sun and clouds, and a high 55. Right now, it's partly sunny and 52 degrees. Good afternoon, I'm Larry Campbell. Wins News Time at the Tone, 3:30.
Good afternoon, I'm Bridget Quinn. President Trump says he hopes the nation is back in weeks, not months. Vice President Pence says 2,000 ventilators are headed to New York. Another 2,000 could be shipped tomorrow. Governor Cuomo, in a news conference heard here on 1010 Wins, called on Washington to do more to get New York State ventilators. And New Jersey's Governor Murphy, at his news conference, said there are now 44 people dead in the Garden State. More now from ABC. Nationwide, more than 50,000 Americans have tested positive for the coronavirus, with half of them in New York State. But other states are also bracing for a wave of patient at hospitals in the coming weeks, including Louisiana, now a hotspot in the South.
The month of March began with Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards thinking about state budgets and transportation planning, not about a global pandemic.
2 weeks ago today, there were 0 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Louisiana.
Now 1,200 people in his state have tested positive, 34 have died, and Edwards is faced with a terrifying realization.
There is no reason to believe that we won't be the next Italy.
He's pleading with his constituents to stay at home to limit the spread of the illness. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
A $1 trillion-plus stimulus bill that would deliver checks to Americans and also help bolster businesses due to the economic impact of the coronavirus. I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News. And coming up here on 1010 Wins, the MTA with an announcement about service changes. Speaking of which, Wins News Time, 3:31. Let's get an update on traffic and transit with Greg Price.
Well, a few of the latest with the MTA. We do have some ongoing subway issues on what does run. We'll tell you what's not running well to start. You've got part of the 5 trains suspended, 6 and 7 trains that go express to local in parts, 2 trains, A, C, and L trains. They all have some sort of delay. Now, what isn't running today, what Bridget was alluding to, is what the MTA is labeling duplicate service. So no B, W, or Z trains. Those all stay in the yard. They say instead of the B, think about the C, D, and Q. Instead of the W, hop on an N or R. And instead of the Z train, the J train should do the job for you. Outbound upper level of the Georgia George temporarily shut down, at least under the apartments, as they fish out a broken down truck. Outbound Lower's better. Inbound George is fine. No issues at the Lincoln or Holland or across the east side of town. Upper East River bridges, the options to and from Staten Island and the Mario Cuomo Bridge, they are all in pretty decent shape. Alternate side is suspended today throughout New York City. they behave, as does everything across the East River, the Upper East River bridges, the options to and from Staten Island and Mario Cuomo. They are all in pretty decent shape. Subway changes going forward, at least for now. B, W, and Z trains, they stay in the yard. They are dubbed duplicate service, so instead of the Z, you want the J. In lieu of the W, hop on the N or R. And instead of the B, C, D, and Q trains, they should do it. Southbound A trains, they run.
We're going to pause now to cut in on you here. Mayor de Blasio with this afternoon briefing, everybody.
Anyone walking down a sidewalk, places that are normally very, very crowded in the city, absolutely empty, or only a few people. Obviously, what's happening now is our lives have been changed profoundly. People are recognizing and dealing with this new reality, making the tough choices and the sacrifices. I want to thank all New Yorkers. Not one of us wants to go through this. None of us asked for it, but it's our reality. And I think New Yorkers are handling it with a lot of strength, a lot of resilience, a lot of creativity, working together, supporting each other. That's what I expect and have always seen from my fellow New Yorkers. I want to thank you. I know it's not easy, but I really appreciate everything that people are doing to get through this together. I have to be honest about the fact that we do not expect this to go quickly, and I wish we did, but we don't. I've had several conversations this week with President Trump, and I respect his office for sure, and I'm trying to work with him to ensure that we get support in this city. But I have to respectfully disagree with him when he says, as he said earlier today, that he's not looking at months for this crisis. I have to say, Mr. President, I wish that was the case for New York City. I hope that's the case for other parts of the country. But right now we are looking at months. And I'm going to say it again because people deserve the honest truth, that we are doing all we can just to get through March right now, particularly in terms of our healthcare system. April will unquestionably be worse than March. And right now, my fear is that May could be worse than April. That's the reality we're facing. I think the notion that we could be, quote-unquote, back to normal in the month of April is absolutely inconceivable at this point. So I want to give people the truth because I think it helps us all to just, really get our expectations right, really know how to plan, really know how to kind of gird ourselves for battle. This is a battle we're all going to be in together. Again, no one is tougher than New Yorkers, so we will get through this. The people will depend on. I want to thank again our extraordinary healthcare workers who every hour of every day are doing amazing work, protecting all of us. Our first responders, they're heroes to us all the time. They're renowned all over the country, all over the world, and they're doing amazing work right now. Our educators, we're so proud of the amazing work that's been done just over days to create an online learning, distance learning program for hundreds of thousands of kids, never been done before in this city. It's amazing what's been started already, as well as those learning centers for the children of essential workers. I mean, this kind of improvisation, this kind of speed and intense teamwork, this is the mark of New York City, and this is something we should be proud of. But I also want to thank other heroes. I'll keep mentioning different people each day, but there's some unsung heroes out there that really deserve our thanks because they're keeping this whole place running in the most basic ways. When you think of you turn on that, you turn on the tap and you get water, let's thank our Department of Environmental Protection workers for getting us clean water, the best water in the nation every single day despite this crisis, for making sure our water system, our sewer system works. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to our Department of Transportation workers who continue to do vital work to keep us safe, to keep all those vehicles that are moving around and that we depend on for essential service, make sure that they can keep doing all of their work. So thanks to the DOT workers, thanks to the sanitation workers, continue to do all that possibly can be done to keep this city clean despite all the challenges we are facing. And there are many, many other public servants, folks who work in nonprofit organizations, folks who work in the private sector, all of whom are chipping in. So I'll say thank you many times during this crisis, but a special thank you to our city workers from all those agencies I mentioned who are doing extraordinary work right now. And I'm going to keep telling all my fellow New Yorkers, say thank you when you see one of them, because we are depending on them right now. So what I am seeing, again, is despite the intensity of this crisis, despite the growth of this crisis, that New Yorkers continue to make the changes necessary to follow the rules, to step up. And that's against the backdrop of really just staggering numbers now. Again, every number represents a human being. And I'm going to tell you about one human being I know who we've just lost, we just heard about in the last hour. But first, the overall situation. Amazing, horrible number, almost 15,000 cases confirmed positive now in New York City. That's 14,776 is the exact number, but that number keeps changing, obviously, throughout the day. So almost 15,000 cases. We're now about 58% of the cases in New York State, and still about exactly a third of the cases in this entire nation. So we are the epicenter. I don't want us to be the epicenter, but we are the epicenter of this crisis for this nation. And obviously, as we discuss this each and every day, because we are the epicenter for this nation, because we are the nation's largest city, because the entire nation depends on New York City, we need more federal help, and we need it quickly. The number of deaths related to coronavirus is 131 as of this moment. 131 New Yorkers we've lost. The breakout by borough, 4,364 cases from Queens, 4,237 cases in Brooklyn, 2,887 cases in Manhattan, 2,328 cases in the Bronx, and 935 cases in Staten Island. We've lost a great New Yorker, one of the most really renowned members of our cultural community, the great playwright Terrence McNally, someone who epitomizes so much about this city. Came here from Texas as a young man, brought all of his talents, wrote some of the greatest plays of recent memory, but also someone who worked so hard for a better New York City and a better America for everyone. I had the honor of knowing Terrence because he ended up marrying one of my college roommates, Tom Curtihy. And, I went to NYU. My roommate and I stayed friends over all the years, and I got to know Terrence once they married. In fact, once marriage equality was finally the law of the land, we held a ceremony out here right in front of City Hall in our plaza and performed a marriage ceremony for Terrence and Tom to mark that historic occasion. An amazing, amazing New Yorker who did so much good. So we all should have Terrence McNally and his husband, Tom Curtihy, in our thoughts and prayers. And Terrence, rest in peace, and thank you for all you did for this city and this nation. And you can see this crisis again. It's not just numbers. It's not just something happening somewhere else or to somebody else. This is going to be something we all will feel very directly in our lives before it's over. Our job is to do everything we can to save lives, to protect lives at this moment. It's going to take everything we've got. This morning, I spoke with Governor Cuomo. We agreed on the most central fact, the most central need, and that is ventilators. That right now in our efforts to save lives, this city must have the ventilators we need. They are all over this country. We've got to get them here. We have to be the priority for this nation because we're the epicenter of the crisis. It has to be clear to all New Yorkers, and I'll talk about a visit I paid to our emergency management warehouse earlier. Talking with doctors from Kings County Hospital, one of our great public institutions, about why ventilators are so crucial. I think for a lot of us, you hear the word ventilator, unless it's been something you experienced in your own life or with your family, it probably sounds like a word you can't really make sense of. I can tell you, having seen one of the ventilators, a machine that literally could fit in a big suitcase, it is something that literally is going to be the difference between life and death for thousands upon thousands of New Yorkers. A ventilator, and the doctors from Kings County Hospital made this so clear today. If a ventilator is available for a patient stricken with coronavirus, a patient gasping for breath, fighting for their life, if that ventilator is available exactly when it's needed, that patient can stay alive so the doctors can do their work, and in many, many cases, that patient will live and resume their life. But it's as plain as this. If a doctor cannot get a ventilator to that patient literally the minute they need it, if too many minutes pass, that patient will suffocate. That patient will die a horrible death, and they'll be gone forever. That is what a ventilator should mean. It's not a technical term anymore. It means life or death. And we need as many ventilators as we possibly can get right now in this city. At our warehouse, our emergency management warehouse in Brooklyn, I saw 400 ventilators that arrived from FEMA, from the federal government. I am thankful for those. But I have to be clear, so long as there is a single ventilator sitting in a federal warehouse that could be here in New York City saving lives, something's wrong. We must get the ventilators to where they're needed most. And I'm not saying we're the only place in the country. We know how much Washington State has suffered. We know how much California has suffered. And unfortunately, more states ahead will suffer. And my strong view is we need the ventilators, and all those who are at the front line need the ventilators now. And as soon as we no longer need them, we will be the first to say, let's make sure they get to where the need is greatest elsewhere in the country. We're asking for help, supplies. We're asking for help getting medical personnel. But we need, as Americans, to be ready to contribute back to all the other states the second the crisis comes to some kind of end here in New York City. So we stand ready to support our nation, but now we need our nation to help us first because we are the front line of this fight. At the warehouse today, 400 ventilators from FEMA, as I mentioned. They're being distributed. They have been distributed already this morning. 100 going to public hospitals, 300 to a variety of other private, nonprofit hospitals around the city, to make sure that no hospital gets into that awful situation that I just described, where they need a ventilator immediately and they don't have it. So that 400 will help us a lot. And just a short time ago, I got the very good news that we got an announcement from the federal government that 4,000 more ventilators are on the way to New York State in the next 48 hours, and half of them will come to New York City. 2,000 more ventilators for New York City, and that's great news. But I need people to understand that is only the beginning of what we need. The speed with which this disease is growing, the human impact, the fact that we could lose a life in minutes if there's not a ventilator. Even with the new supplies we have received and will receive this week, what does it tell us? It tells us we can get through this week. It tells us we can get into next week, maybe even get through that first week of April. But with the rate of increase of this disease, we need ventilators to be constantly provided to New York City, constantly supplied to New York City, until we get to the point where we're absolutely sure we have an ample supply. I don't want to see a single person die who could have been saved. That's my standard. And that's why we're going to need many more ventilators. We asked the federal government days and days ago. We made the formal request for 15,000 ventilators. Again, I'm very appreciative of the progress. I want to thank the administration for what has begun to happen. But I need everyone in Washington to understand that'll just get us to the first week of April, and I'm very worried about the first week in April. Even with this new supply, it doesn't guarantee we'll get through April, that first week. This is a race against time. This is a race against time, and every one of us here, City Hall, emergency management, all of us who are in charge of fighting this battle, and I know our colleagues at the state level feel exactly the same way, we are all racing against time. We need our federal government to join us in that race against time. Again, I'll always tell you when I think there's progress, and I'll tell you when I think there's setbacks. There is another act of progress today. We heard it from FEMA, and I'm very appreciative for all FEMA is doing. They have been a difference maker in the days that they've been on the playing field since the president signed the emergency declaration. FEMA is making a huge difference already with a lot more to come. So I thank them. We heard the news earlier today that for the first time the Defense Production Act had actually been activated in the real world conditions we're talking about, where it actually needs to be used to guarantee that companies will produce exactly what is needed to protect the American people, and that those goods will be distributed to where the need is greatest. We are finally beginning to see the Defense Production Act being implemented. It will have to be used on a much bigger scale to produce not only what New York City and New York State are going to need. I am trying to tell people all over this country, it's coming to you next. This will be a national crisis. All 50 states, we must get to maximum production immediately. So I am pleased to see progress, but we have a long way to go, and the Defense Production Act needs to be used to the maximum. I will say, in addition to the good work of FEMA, the good work we're seeing from the federal administration getting us some new supplies, the good work, of course, from the state of New York, which has done extraordinary work to help us. We are seeing more and more private corporations step up. We're seeing more and more individuals come forward, philanthropies come forward. A lot of people are helping. Last night I had a very encouraging conversation with the CEO of the 3M Corporation in Minnesota, which is in a position to give us some of our most crucially necessary supplies, including N95 masks, which are those very high-quality masks we need a lot more of, to the tune of millions. CEO Mike Roman and I spoke at length. It was quite clear he's very committed to New York City. I want to say thanks to Mike and your entire team. We talked about a very large order we need help with, and he was ready to help. So thank you to everyone at the 3M Corporation. And we're going to be having that conversation with a lot of other CEOs, a lot of other people who are in a position to help real quickly, because we're going to need it all. I want to make clear to everyone who wants to help, especially if you have even a single ventilator that you can get to New York City, or if you have a supply, even more, a bigger supply of ventilators. If you have surgical masks, if you have N95 masks, if you have face shields, gloves, gowns, anything that could help us, we need it. And the simplest way to let us know about what you have and your willingness to help is to go to nyc.gov. It's right there on the homepage. It's got a long title for this section. It says, produce or donate supplies to fight coronavirus. I assure you we will come up with a simpler title, but right now anyone who can help us can go to nyc.gov, that homepage. It's really clear where you click to let us know about what you can give us to help, and we need it, and I am so grateful to all who are helping. And I assure you, I guarantee you, we will return the favor to our fellow Americans, to other states and cities, as soon as our crisis abates. We have to be ready to say thank you and mobilize to help the rest of our fellow Americans. Now I want to talk to you about some of the issues we're dealing with today out on the streets of our city in terms of our parks and playgrounds. Places that we are concerned, obviously, to make sure that people practice social distancing, that people don't congregate, don't live the way we used to just weeks ago, but live in this new reality. And I spoke several times to our police commissioner, Dermot Shea. He has been out checking. I've been out checking. He has patrols out all over the city, getting constant feedback. And what we're seeing in many, many places is that people are truly abiding by these rules. A lot of our parks and playgrounds actually have had very limited activity today. Others obviously might have more, but we are seeing broad adherence to the rules, and we're going to make clear through NYPD enforcement and enforcement by many other city agencies that we must have real respect for these rules, and anyone who is not following the rules will be quickly corrected, they'll be warned, they'll be educated. NYPD will be out making very clear to people, using our patrol officers and with messages that'll be electronically transmitted all over parks, as well as all the person-to-person contact, that we need people to deal with this new reality of social distancing. We've been working closely with the state of New York and with the city council to make sure that we are able to maximize the education, maximize the enforcement, maximize the chance that people can continue to enjoy our parks, and in particular our playgrounds. But it's also clear, as I said just a few days ago, that if that is not working out, if people are not abiding by the rules, they're not listening to the warnings, We may get to the point in just days where we have to close the playgrounds for the duration of this crisis. It's not something I want to do, but it's something I'm ready to do if needed. We have agreed with the state of New York and the city council that we will give this process until Saturday evening. So we'll have some warmer days coming up. We'll have a chance to see if people have gotten the message. We will be doing all the enforcement, but if by the end of Saturday it is not sufficiently clear that New Yorkers are following these new rules, at that point we'll be prepared to shut down playgrounds for the foreseeable future. So to everyone out there, to all the parents with kids, and again, I've made very clear, if you're living under the same roof, social distancing is different for you. Obviously, people who live under the same roof are going to be in close proximity all day, all night. You don't need to do the 6 feet apart out on the playground if it's a mother with her child, for example. But you do need to keep your distance from everybody else, and your child does as well. So the rules are pretty straightforward. If people follow those rules, my hope is the playgrounds stay open. If they don't follow the rules, most assuredly the playgrounds will be shut. We will make that decision by Saturday evening. Also, in terms of our streets, we've worked with the state and with the city council on a initial effort to ensure that we can enforce a limited number of streets that will be opened up. This will be a pilot program. We'll do up to 2 streets per borough. And everyone wants to make sure that there are spaces for folks to get their exercise, to get fresh air. We also are quite clear there must be enforcement. So it has to be places that the NYPD and the other agencies can enforce effectively. We came to, I think, a very smart, workable agreement to do a limited number of sites around the 5 boroughs. See how it goes, see if the enforcement works while we're trying, of course, to do the enforcement everywhere else. Our goal is to get these up and running by Thursday at, again, up to 2 sites per borough. Details will be announced. The one thing for sure, every site can and will be enforced by the NYPD and other agencies. That's obviously underlies our entire approach. So you'll see that up and running in the next couple of days. Let me turn now to something that there's just, I have to be very clear, there's no good news at all when it comes to the topic of our budget, our city budget. And I always say, a budget reflects priorities and values, and the budget really means what we can do to serve people, what we can do to employ our public servants who do so much good for everybody else, how we can make sure people get what they need. Well, as I said yesterday, unfortunately, I've had to instruct our Office of Management and Budget to immediately initiate a savings program. It's called a PEG program, which requires agencies to have to, in a mandatory fashion, come up with savings. That goal, I want to use these words very, very specifically, that goal will be at least $1.3 billion. And everyone who's listening knows that is real money. That's a huge amount of money, and that process has begun today with city agencies. And I say at least because that number may have to grow in the near future as we continue to lose revenue and see massive new expenses because of this crisis. But I wanted to give you that update. It's an unfortunate update, but it's the truth. Something that is also related to the crisis we're going through, but I imagine people will be much happier about, is that we have paid very close attention to parking on our streets, and particularly alternate side parking, that issue that is one of the things that New Yorkers feel very deeply, very personally. I know from my own experience in my own neighborhood, trying to find that parking space and circling the block a lot of times over the years. We gave it a week to see how things would go. I'm happy to say that the results were very good. Even after a week, we found that our city remains sufficiently clean. So we will extend for another week. And now alternate side parking will be suspended through next Tuesday, March 31st. So alternate side, which has been suspended for the last 7 days, will be suspended for another 7 days through Tuesday, March 31st. We're going to look at the situation week by week. We might do more extensive time periods depending on what we see, but I think the thing to expect right now is we'll try and deal with alternate side in chunks of time, at least a week at a time. But again, always watching to make sure that our city stays clean for everyone's benefit, and it's important against the backdrop of something like this disease that we maintain real cleanliness in the city. So That's some good news that alternate site is suspended through Tuesday, March 31st. Now, want to just speak proactively to an issue that might come up. I know our colleagues in the media have a lot of questions, and I'll be turning to them in just a moment. But one issue has come up which is very, very emotionally important, humanly important in terms of health. And that is the question of for folks who are giving birth, families that are giving birth, what are the protocols about whether a partner of the woman giving birth can be in the hospital room at that moment. This is a medical decision, obviously. It is something where all of us who are not doctors need to defer to the medical community. The decision made by our public hospitals, our health and hospital system, is that partners should be allowed in for the process of labor and when a woman is giving birth. That is the official policy, but with some very clear guidelines that any partner in the hospital room when a woman is giving birth must be wearing a surgical mask, and that there is a clearance procedure to ensure that if any partner is symptomatic with the symptoms of coronavirus, or of course if they have tested positive, then they would not be allowed in the room. So I think that's very straightforward. If someone is healthy, then that partner is allowed in. If a partner is symptomatic or tests positive for coronavirus, they are not. We certainly hope and pray that happens to nobody or very few people, so that partners can be there for that amazing life moment. To me, there's just no more important moment in your life than when a child is born, obviously. But we do need to protect the health of the mom and really make sure we handle that right. So that's the way our public hospitals will be going about it. Another topic, and this is, again, I'll often have tough updates for you, but this one is good news, and this is related to transportation and all the critical essential workers who need to get around. Very happy to say that colleagues from City Bike are offering them folks who are essential workers a free 30-day membership. And the owner of City Bike Lyft, I want to thank them and all, like so many other private sector companies that are stepping up, thank them for that effort. I know they're going to extra effort to make sure those City Bikes are stationed in the right places, particularly for healthcare workers. And they're going to extra effort to make sure the City Bikes are sanitized frequently. I want to thank you for all those efforts, everyone at Lyft and City Bike. That really, really helps a lot. Now to a very important issue that has come up a number of times, and I understand why. It's a hugely important issue, which is our jail system. We have important and very sensitive and very complex decisions to make related to those who are incarcerated at this moment. I remind everyone the number of people in our jails right now is just over 5,000 as compared to over 11,000 when I first took office. So thank God it's less than half of what we used to have in terms of people incarcerated, but it's still a lot of people. My strong view is at this point, I want to follow the exact same categories that I heard from Dr. Anthony Fauci in terms of those who are most in danger. And obviously Dr. Fauci has done an extraordinary job during this crisis, leading this country with the best information and guidance on how to address coronavirus. Dr. Fauci told me last week that anyone over 70 years old or anyone with one of those 5 major pre-existing conditions, those are the people most likely to be in danger. This is my view. No one over 70, no one with any of those 5 pre-existing conditions should be in our jail system right now. We have to work through some very intense, complicated legal issues, case by case. In the case of those individuals, some I have the direct power to release. In other cases, that can only be done with the approval of the state of New York or a district attorney. But that category of people, those in immediate danger because of the specific nature of coronavirus, I strongly believe they all should be released. And we are working through those details immediately. I believe some have been in the group that's been released already. The 75 have been released already. But we want to identify anyone in those categories and get them out immediately. Now to the bigger picture. The reality is of the over 5,000 people in our correction system, different inmates are in different statuses. There's been, I think, some information put out that is not accurate about which are the group that I have the direct ability to release into a work release monitored and supervised program versus those who could only be released with the approval of the state of New York or a district attorney. The group that I have direct ability to act on is those who are serving a city sentence, and that means that they have gone to trial, they've been found guilty, they've been sentenced, and the sentence is under 1 year. And they would serve that sentence on Rikers Island rather than serving that sentence in one of the upstate prisons. Those, of course, are meant for people who did more serious offenses. Folks who are serving a sentence of up to 1 year on Rikers are individuals convicted of offenses such as misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. So when we looked at that category of people, there's over 500 inmates in that category. There is a substantial group that, because of very specific legal issues, I'm not able to immediately release, or we would have to work through those case by case. There are some who have domestic violence charges or sexual offenses charges who I have determined we are not prepared to release at this time, although we'll continue to look at cases individually. I'm not comfortable releasing those individuals at this point. The remainder are individuals who have been convicted of misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies, have less than a year left on their sentence. Some have many months, some have only a few months, some have only weeks. But I'm going to treat this category across the board. It's approximately 300 inmates, and we will move to release those 300 inmates immediately. The other categories that I think are immediately areas to focus on in terms of potential release, in addition, as I said, to those over 70 with pre-existing conditions, and those in the city sentenced category. There are those awaiting trial. There's a particular group of them, about 100, who should be considered immediately, but that will require actions by the district attorneys. We will work with them to determine the proper outcome quickly. And then there's another group of about 700 that are technical parole violators. We will be working with the state of New York that has to ultimately give approval. We'll be having a conversation to see if that is a group that can be acted on across the board, or if that needs to be handled in a more specified manner. But certainly that is an area where we think we could find a number of people who may be able to be released quickly, and we'll work closely with the state on that. Okay, just a few words in Spanish, and then we will start taking...
And you've been listening live to Mayor Bill de Blasio on 1010 Wins and 1010wins.com. The mayor says there are now 14,776 cases of coronavirus in New York City, with 131 deaths. He reiterated what the governor said this morning. The city needs as many ventilators as it can get. He says he just learned that the feds are sending 4,000 ventilators to New York, with 2,000 of those coming here to the city, and that they should be here in the next day or so. He also says when it comes to the city playground, he is warning New Yorkers if they don't follow social distancing guidelines, he will close the playgrounds. He's going to give this until Saturday night. He says if everybody abides by the rules, the playgrounds will stay open. Otherwise, after Saturday night, he will shut them down. And for drivers, the city is extending alternate side or suspending alternate side parking rules for another week. The mayor says they will be suspended through next Tuesday, March 31st. He also announced that City Bike Lyft offering a free month membership for those of you who have been or thinking about using the bike. And the mayor took a personal moment to mourn the death of the great American playwright Terrence McNally. He has died of complications from coronavirus. McNally's husband, Tom Corday, was one of the mayor's roommates at NYU.
curious about.
And we're now going to go back to the mayor's news conference. He's now taking questions remotely from reporters.
Brooklyn Democracy Academy, another principal in that building at Kappa 5 appears to have been hospitalized. Can you confirm that? And do you know when the last time those principals were in the building?
Alex, I heard from Chancellor Carranza last night, and he was very, very sad and very pained, and I was too, to hear we lost the principal at Brooklyn Democracy, someone who obviously gave his whole life to trying to help kids. But I do not have the details of any connection to other DOE members, so I want to make sure I don't give you anything that's inaccurate. We can get that to you for sure later on today. Is there a follow-up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also just curious, like, what is going on in those, for the people who are connected to those buildings now. I mean, I know that the DOE has said they're not confirming cases, but is the city doing anything to try to connect to people in those buildings who may have been exposed to either of these two educators?
Look, I think right now I'll start, and then Dr. Barbeau will certainly, I'm sure, join in and go over again the reality we're in now. I think when you're talking about 15,000 cases and community spread, we're in a new reality. I mean, the truth is, Alex, you know better than anyone, vast majority of our school buildings are shut down now, and some are only doing food operations, pickup, but no educators there, no students there. Others, very small number, compared to all the buildings we have, a very small number are being used for our enrichment centers for the children of essential workers. So, for other folks, obviously, we take each of these cases seriously. If there's something specific that we can act on, we will. Sure, on the westbound side of Route 287 at the Sprainbrook collision there. We also had delays in the Bronx on the southbound side of the Hutch, right at the New England Freeway, right in that area of Co-op City. Some pothole repair. At least one lane was blocked there. And on the westbound side of Route 84, up around the Taconic in Fishkill, we had a collision there. That is off to the shoulder. Jackie Robinson Parkway, westbound at Forest Park Drive. Watch for a stall there. I'm Tom Kaminsky with WCBS. Tomorrow, and cloudy with some rain at times. Tomorrow's high 54 degrees. This 2 weeks, the statistics are becoming more alarming. The number of cases is doubling. 40 hospital beds.
They project that this time could be approximately 14 to 21 days away.
Governor Cuomo says there is a desperate need for life-saving ventilators. The feds have 20,000 in reserve, and New York has been offered 400.
How can we be in a situation where you can have New Yorkers possibly dying because they can't get a ventilator, but a federal agency saying, I'm going to leave the ventilators in the stockpile?
Cuomo spoke in front of boxes of supplies. They'll be used for the 2,000 beds that'll be built here. At the Javits Center, Peter Haskell, WCBS News Radio 880.
An 85-year-old has become Nassau County's 10th coronavirus death. WCBS's Sophia Hall reports Nassau is cracking down on businesses that should be closed.
Here in Nassau County, you can now report anyone disobeying the law and having groups of people gathering. Here is the county executive, Laura Curran.
If you hear of a wedding that's happening or a bar, we've seen some bars are keeping their back door open where people can sneak in. If you hear of anything like this, please let us know.
She says 18 people have tested positive for the coronavirus at the A. Holly Patterson Nursing Home. And domestic violence calls are up. The Safe Center is opening up an additional shelter to help those in need. Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder says, however, major crime is down.
Overall, major crime numbers have dropped 5 points in the last week. So we're declining in the right direction. And again, even the bad guys are staying home, they're not coming out. So that's a good thing.
Sophia Hall, WCBS News Radio 880.
442 at WCBS. When baseball does start up, a key Met will not. We'll check sports next.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/hire. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter. The smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/hire. ZipRecruiter.com/hire.
The market's closing numbers sponsored by T-Mobile. Dow gained 2,112 points, its biggest point gain ever, with the Senate closing in on a stimulus package of almost $2 trillion. 4:43 at WCBS. Sports sponsored by Certa Pro Painters. Here's Rich Ackerman.
No baseball right now, but when it does return, Noah Syndergaard will not be on the mound for a while. The Mets right-hander reportedly has a torn elbow ligament. He'll undergo Tommy John surgery and won't be back until the middle of next year. The Jets have lost their top wide receiver from a year ago. Robbie Anderson reportedly signs with the Carolina Panthers a 2-year, $20 million deal, and he's back with Matt Rule, who was his college coach. The Panthers also moving on from Cam Newton, releasing the former MVP today. He'll be 31 in May, but has been slowed by shoulder and foot injuries the last couple of years, and they recently signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year deal. Tom Brady made his first semi-public appearance today as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, talking on a conference call about life is all about change and how it will be different backing up with 3 kids and a wife, but he's no different than anyone that has changed jobs. I'm Rich Ackerman, WCBS 880 Sports.
Think spring. It's Tom Kaminsky for Certa Pro Painters. Winter weather can really wreck the outside of your home. Chipping, fading, peeling paint. Time to spring into action and call Certa Pro Painters. Painting is an investment, so choosing the right company is key. That's why I've trusted Certa Pro Painters for over a decade. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com or call 1-800-GO-CERTA. That's Certa with a C. Each Certa Pro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Certa Pro Painters. We do painting, you do life.
Somewhere out there's a man on a park bench eating his 500th PB&J. He has no idea Papa John's has new Papadillas that are way better than a boring sandwich. With Papa John's best meats, cheeses, and veggies hand-folded into a crispy flatbread crust. Someone better tell that man. Get a new Papadilla in 1 of 4 flavors for just $6. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's. Available discounts, fees, and taxes. Extra prices may vary.
Hey, New Jersey, want more funding for public schools?
What about better health and social services?
Fill out your 2020 census. Federal funding for our communities is determined by census results. If we're not all counted, we could miss out.
So, better roads and bridges.
Fill it out.
Better jobs?
Fill it out.
Fair representation in Congress.
Fill it out. New Jersey Census 2020. There's strength in numbers. Learn more at census.nj.gov.
You're never more than 15 minutes from the big stories on WCBS.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Wallace. 3 things to know at 4:45. 1, the number of COVID-19 cases in New York State has surged to more than 25,000. Almost 15,000 of them are in the city. Mayor de Blasio says the feds are sending another 4,000 ventilators to the state. 2,000 of those will go to the city. Number 2, New Jersey has had another 17 deaths for a total of 44. The state has more than 3,600 cases, second only to New York. And number 3, whenever the baseball season starts, the Mets will not have Noah Syndergaard. He needs Tommy John surgery and will miss the entire season. In hard-hit Teaneck, New Jersey, Holy Name Medical Center is asking people for donations so we can buy more medical supplies during this coronavirus crisis. WCBS's Marla Diamond spoke to the hospital's chief medical officer, Dr. Adam Jarrett, who says their situation is unprecedented.
The team here is really incredible, the nursing staff, the medical staff. But I've been at Holy Name for 10 years. I've been in healthcare for over 30 years. I've never seen anything like this. I don't want to call it a war in the sense that at this point, and hopefully it doesn't get there, that we have patients waiting in hallways on ventilators and they're not being cared for. I am very concerned that if the onslaught continues, if we don't get some relief in terms of supplies and in terms of additional staff, and if the social distancing methods that are being discussed are not taken seriously, then we may get to the point where I can't go home at night and say that we did not compromise care.
How can we help you? What do you need right now?
So social distancing, although challenging and having other significant economic impacts on our society, is crucial. We are not going to get through this without compromising care unless we socially distance. And we certainly are available for people who want to make donations to the hospital, both in terms of PPE, and certainly there's a financial strain on the hospital, like there are going to be for many businesses, but we're always willing to take financial donations as well.
Dr. Adam Jarrett, Chief Medical Officer at Holy Name Medical Center. You can donate at helpholyname.org. 448 at WCBS. Traffic and weather together, sponsored by MajorWorld.com. Here's Tom Kaminsky.
All right, Michael, let's start first off on the western spur of the turnpike, the entrance ramp at 15W. We had an overturned tractor trailer at the end of that entrance ramp coming from Route 280 onto the northbound western spur, so extra volume there. We've also got delays on Route 28, which is Union Avenue in Bridgewater, right at Findern Avenue, which is just west of Route 287. We had a collision, a police investigation at that spot. Jackie Robinson Parkway, westbound at Forest Park Drive, watch for a stall, and the northbound side of the BQE. Still some delays in the area of the Williamsburg Bridge. There's a stall there, one lane is blocked. The westbound side of Route 287, right around the area of the Springbrook Parkway, we still had a crash, and at least one lane was blocked there. The Hudson River crossings, of course, really no delays. Alternate side parking rules suspended, as you've been hearing here on WCBS. They will be suspended for at least another week. We get a look through Nassau and Suffolk counties, and no delays at this point on the LIE or Northern or Southern State Parkways. I'm Tom Kaminsky in the WCBS Traffic Center.
Craig's 5-day forecast up next. Buying a car with your tax refund? Stop. Don't get ripped off by wasting your refund paying huge dealer fees. At Major World, you'll only pay $75 in dealer fees. Major World, just straight up honest pricing. Visit MajorWorld.com or call 1-800-MAJOR-AUTO.
Going to be low about 4 south, though. From this system, it's not going to be as intense as what we had late yesterday and last night. Highs tomorrow, though, just 44 to 48. Partial clearing Wednesday night. Thursday, mostly sunny. Back up to 54 to 58. The Altice 5-day forecast. Friday, variably cloudy. Quite mild, but with a shower or two. Near 60. And then Saturday, we're back to periods of rain and only near 50. But right now, Sunday looks milder again. It's currently sunny and 54. Humidity 43%. And a northerly breeze about 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Craig, thank you. 450 at WCBS. An auto racing team is helping nursing home residents in its Virginia hometown.
I'm Jim Crisula. Wood Brothers Racing has collected $30,000 to buy tablets for nursing home residents to connect with family and friends during coronavirus. In its hometown of Stuart, Virginia, they called it a, quote, crazy idea that took off.
I feel like most of the population has some kind of way of finding self-comfort, but these people don't.
John Wood is vice president of NASCAR's longest active racing team. They started in the mountains of southwestern Virginia 70 years ago. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has set a new date for its induction ceremony, which had been postponed due to coronavirus. It's now scheduled for Saturday, November 7th. This year's Hall of Fame inductees include Whitney Houston, 9 Inch Nails, Depeche Mode, the Doobie Brothers, T-Rex, and the Notorious B.I.G. 451 at WCBS.
90-year-old mother-in-law and the virus. I'm Pat Farnack with the WCBS Health and Wellbeing Report. Sponsored by Valley Health System, enhancing the health and well-being of Northern New Jersey. Dr. Michael Stein is professor of public health at Boston University and author of the book Pained. We are dancing, he says, a unique dance these days.
Yesterday, my 90-year-old mother-in-law calls me up. She lives alone. She says her best friend is just back from Europe. Can she come over to visit her apartment? So I could stay alone in my apartment as a 90-year-old and have zero risk, and I'm lonely, and I have no social interactions. Or I could take some unknown, but probably small risk, and have a friend over. And we don't know who that friend has been with recently. These are all going to be trade-offs at every moment of our lives at this point.
Michael, she could do FaceTime.
Not the same, is it, to have somebody living and breathing in your apartment visiting you?
The entire interview at WCBS880.com/health. I'm Pat Farnack, WCBS News Radio 880. When it comes
to cancer care, Valley Health System in Paramus, New Jersey is defying expectations in diagnosis, in treatment, in every way. Radical advances are being made in the treatment of cancer, and Valley Health System is at the forefront of bringing these innovative approaches to patients every day. And for virtually every cancer type, we're defying expectations at every turn. And in partnership with the Mount Sinai Health System, nationally recognized for excellence in clinical practice, medical education, and research, we've created Valley Mount Sinai Comprehensive Cancer Care, a powerful alliance. If you are newly diagnosed or in need of a second opinion, contact Valley Mount Sinai Comprehensive Cancer Care, where defying expectations is standard procedure. To learn more about Valley and our breakthrough treatment options, call 201-634-5339. That's 201-634-5339.
At CDW, we get that an unsecured laptop can put your company's data at risk, making you a little paranoid. I'm not paranoid, you're paranoid. CDW can implement a secure mobility solution using the HP EliteBook with Intel 8th generation processors and TrueView privacy to protect your screen from prying eyes.
Did you follow me here?
IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/HP security.
You're a small business owner, and there's nothing small about what you do. That's why Dell Small Business Technology Advisors give you trusted advice, one-on-one partnership, and tailored tech solutions, like computers, Intel Core processors, servers, storage, networking, plus thousands of top-brand electronics, accessories, and software. No matter your technology needs, Dell is here to help your small business do big things. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo begging for more ventilators. 4,000 are on the way, but Governor Cuomo says that we need thousands more. The latest coming up in 5 minutes. At 4:55, Money News, sponsored by JCFNY.org. What a day on Wall Street. Here's Tracy Jonke.
Michael, the Dow is up more than 11% for the first time since 1933. And if you're counting by points, this gain is a record. The Dow is up 2,113 points at 20,705. The NASDAQ up 557 points at 7418. The S&P is up 210 points. Money manager tells Bloomberg News this huge rally is built on the possibility of what he calls this gargantuan fiscal stimulus package being worked out in the Senate. People are spending a lot more time on Facebook and especially on its Messenger and WhatsApp messaging services. Patient Civic Philanthropy. After we created our fund, my mother and father asked if they could set up a fund, and so that was 2 generations, and then we established funds for our children, and it allowed us to have our children make a decision about how they wanted to spend their philanthropic dollars. And as we look forward to becoming grandparents, we will establish funds for our grandchildren so we can have 4 generations of Stearns having Jewish communal funds. Establish a JCF fund for your family or children before December 31st and receive a tax deduction for 2020. Call 212-752-8277 or visit jcfny.org. Balance of Nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I do high school ball. I umpire softball and baseball. So I'm very busy and very active. And the main thing I've noticed since I started Balance of Nature is when I do these baseball, softball tournaments, I don't deal with cramps anymore, which has really been a big deal because I used to be basically after 2 days of a tournament, I would be bound up with cramping a good bit of the next day, and now I don't deal with it at all. So that's a real good thing.
Don't wait to see what getting over 10 servings of whole fruits and vegetables every day can do for you. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order of fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code ALLNEWS.
4:58 at WCBS. Traffic and weather together on the 8s. Here's Tom Kaminsky. we did have a stall on the northbound side of the BQE, right in the area of the Williamsburg Bridge. That is now cleared, everything open. It's still pretty heavy on the Jackie Robinson Parkway, westbound of Forest Park Drive. We did have a stall, and at least one lane was blocked there. We are still seeing some delays on the Brooklyn Bridge, headed Brooklyn bound. Once you get, though, onto the outbound side of the Gowanus, not too bad there. The east side and west side, no delays there. Northbound New York State Freeway, really not bad as we get Tappan Zee Bridge. We did have a note on the Springbrook Parkway, westbound, or I should say westbound on Route 287, right at the Springbrook Parkway, but a collision there now does appear to be cleared away. The northbound Western Spur, still some delays on the entrance ramp at 15W. We had a collision there, and here comes Craig with the forecast.
And the sun is still shining. It's 54, 55 was our high this afternoon. And we have sunset at 7:13 this evening. Take it all in. The clouds increase tonight, about 40, 30s inland. Tomorrow is going to be a chilly, cloudy day once again. There will be some rain at times. It won't be like yesterday, but it's not going to be a very pretty day. High 44 to 48. Partial clearing Wednesday night, but Thursday the sunshine will be back, and highs will be back up to between 54 and 58.
This is WCBS, WCBS HD, and WCBS FM HD2 New York.
The coronavirus continues to spread in New York at an alarming rate. Governor Cuomo says without federal help, more people will die. In New York City alone, Mayor de Blasio says 131 people have already died from COVID-19. And as senators continue to negotiate an emergency rescue bill that's nearing $2 trillion, investors help give the Dow its best day ever. In sports, Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard will get Tommy John surgery this Thursday on what would have been opening day. 54 degrees sunshine in the city on this Tuesday, March 24th. I'm Kevin Rincon.
More than just a headline. This is WCBS News Radio 880.
It's 5 o'clock.
CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Steve Futterman in Los Angeles. What a day on Wall Street. And this time it was good news for once. The Dow up a record 2,100 points, more than 11%. Much of this due to progress being made on Capitol Hill for a $1 to $2 trillion stimulus package. Here's CBS's Natalie Brand.
Senate Democrats say they've made progress in putting in more accountability on big businesses receiving part of the funding. Democrats also pushed for additional financial help for hospitals overwhelmed with coronavirus patients.
The economy and getting Americans back to work were on President Trump's mind today as he took part in a town. Here's CBS News White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
Arguing the advice of medical experts is causing more damage than the coronavirus itself. The president is clearly losing his patience.
I'm sure that we have doctors that would say, let's keep it closed for 2 years.
His administration has urged the current 15-day period of social distancing, urging Americans to stay home if they can and not go to restaurants or food courts. Many governors have gone further. Mr. Trump tells Fox News he'll reassess the federal guidance next week. But for now, he aims for the economy to be reopened by Easter.
We got to get it open. Our people want it open, and that's the way this country was built.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, Washington.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo cautioned again today that the worst for his state and many others still to come.
New York is the canary in the coal mine. New York is going first. We have the highest and the fastest rate of infection. What happens to New York is going to wind up happening to California, in Washington State, in Illinois. It's just a matter of time.
A bit of encouraging news today from Italy.
I'm Vicky Barker at the foreign desk in London. The death toll still rising in Italy, but more slowly. The pandemic's accelerating in Spain, though, where an ice rink and a Madrid shopping mall is being converted into a massive makeshift morgue. Here in London, emergency room doctors say they're already having to make life and death decisions about which critically ill patients get ventilators.
There will be no Summer Olympics this year, the world's largest sports event, another victim of the coronavirus crisis. Olympic historian David Wolochinsky.
I think that the vast majority of Olympic athletes will be relieved because they were unable to train properly. Universities were closed. They couldn't gather together in groups and so forth. Of course, there will be those athletes who are at their peak in 2020 and might not be in 2021.
And again on Wall Street, a record-setting day, the best day since 1933, the Dow up 2,100 points. This is CBS News.
Keep can listen to CBS News Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on radio.com or the radio.com app. Download it today.
Your news, live and local. This is WCBS News Radio 880, a radio.com station.
54 degrees, a lot of sunshine in the city, just a few clouds around. That does change. The forecast says the clouds will roll in tonight. We'll see a low near 40, 30s inland, and then tomorrow cloudy, chilly again with some on and off rain at times. A high of 48 for tomorrow. 5:03 at WCBS. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases in New York still very much on the rise. As of today, there are at least 25,665 people who tested positive, a number that will continue to only get larger, and of those, a large majority, close to 15,000, are in the city. Governor Cuomo saying the situation will get worse and says the Trump administration needs to do more. WCBS reporter Peter Haskell heard from him at the Javits Center.
Sitting in front of boxes of surgical masks and gowns, the governor warned of an accelerating threat.
The rate of infection is going up. It is spiking. The apex is higher than we thought, and the apex is sooner than we thought.
The state will need 140,000 hospital beds in the next 2 to 3 weeks. There are currently 53,000 beds. That's why a 2,000-bed facility is being built here at Javits. The feds have also offered 400 ventilators.
You want a pat on the back for sending 400 ventilators? What are we going to do with 400 ventilators when we need 30,000 ventilators?
Cuomo understands concerns about the economy, but says he will not sacrifice human lives. At the Javits Center, Peter Haskell, WCBS News Radio 880.
And those ventilators are needed just about everywhere in New York. Mayor de Blasio saying a lot of what Governor Cuomo said, making those pleas for more. De Blasio says help, though, is on the way.
We got an announcement from the federal government that 4,000 more ventilators are on the way to New York State in the next 48 hours, and half of them will come to New York City. 2,000 more ventilators for New York City, and that's great news. But I need people to understand that is only the beginning of what we need.
You heard the governor mention 400 ventilators from FEMA. Well, the mayor says 100 of them are being delivered to public hospitals. The other 300 will be sent to private and nonprofit hospitals around the city. The situation in New Jersey changing as well. The state working to run more tests, and they're finding more positives. Governor Murphy says at the moment they have over 3,600 cases with 44 deaths that we know of so far tied to the COVID-19 outbreak. WCBS reporter Steve Burns with more.
New Jersey can't flip a light switch. If we could, we would, and we would have done it a long time ago. Governor Murphy says it could take around 2 weeks to see the benefits of the measures that went into effect this past weekend, closing non-essential businesses. So while we cannot wait to see the numbers plateau and eventually decrease, we do not know when that will be. And we will continue to take every step possible to ensure social distancing. Field hospitals are being set up across the state, including at the Meadowlands and at the Convention and Expo Center in Edison. Murphy also says law enforcement measures continue unabated, mentioning one case in particular. A defendant who got into a dispute with an employee of Wegmans coughed on the woman and told her after doing so that he had coronavirus. It happened in Monmouth County. The man is facing charges of harassment, obstruction, and making terroristic threats. Steve Burns, WCBS News Radio 80.
WCBS News Time 5:07. Help New York stay connected in this time of need. Take care of